Loaded, loaded, loaded. Do we got a show for you this morning? I tell you what, it's funny how this little show has been able to get the most amazing guests. I've got one of the SEO premier experts in the country on this morning. There's a couple of things we're going to talk about. One in particular that's really going to have your interest. It's called Negative SEO. Don't know what it is? We're going to find out more about it. Also, tips and tricks and how to optimize your website. We're going to talk about all those things. You're listening and watching The Launch with Tim Vasquez, heard every Friday here on the On Air Media Network. My guest this morning will be Bill Hartzer.
3, 2, 1, 0, ignition, liftoff.
It is showtime. Another Friday on the truncated show this morning. We had a couple of little flare-ups on my end. I'm trying to, I'm screwing up a little bit of things here and there. So we're a little bit late. And the show's a little bit earlier this morning. We're on 11:30. We're this morning at 9 a.m., a little bit past 9 a.m. I had to drag this guy out of bed in the literal, in the figurative sense too, because this is way early for both of us, I'm sure. But I've got the one of the most amazing SEO people in the country, and it's funny. What I was telling this to Jansen this morning, that our community, the Dallas area community, we've got some of the top-notch experts about what we do around the world here, and this man, Bill Hartzer, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, there he is. Look who he's hanging with. Not just a namby-pamby guy. This man was on Dancing with the Stars, and he got ousted in the first round. But he's a nice guy. Bill Hartzer, welcome to the show with The Launch.
Thanks so much.
So glad that you're here this morning. I mentioned Negative SEO right off the bat. Let's first, let me get into the history, how you got into SEO and audits and
Sure.
everything like that. And then let's get into the meat. I think this is so important to talk about Negative SEO because Google is denying a loophole in their system, and Bill found it. But anyway, let's go. Bill, what were you doing before you got into SEO? And how long have you been doing SEO?
I started back actually in the mid-90s. I was a technical writer and doing, coding and, actually writing computer software manuals on an IBM mainframe and that kind of moved me into, I knew actually a lot of content and content writing and actually, starting to do markup and so forth. And I got into HTML in the mid-90s, and, internet came around, and I was then easily just moved in and created my own sites. It was, Notepad and, coding raw HTML. We didn't have, the WYSIWYG. It was no WordPress or anything like that. It was just literally, creating pages and then having to link each page together. So that, a couple of different companies, from Texas Instruments to an international software company, and kind of moved in from technical writing and taking care of doing webmaster duties typically, and web server stuff. Kind of moved with my writing background into SEO, and I was doing 96, 97 affiliate sites and buying and selling domain names, and so creating sites and so forth.
You were still in that's still in the 90s, and even the mid to late 90s. That's still the infancy stages of web development and SEO, social media certainly, and all those things. What made that turn for you from doing all the technical work? I mean, there had to be some epiphany to go I can do this.
Yeah, I mean, actually, I had my day job as a technical writer and webmastering, and I did some affiliate. I mean, created my own sites and got people to click on banner ads. And the best conversion, you sent traffic to a page, and that white page, and you had one banner ad on the page and that's it, and no content, and people would click on that, banner ad, and so you'd get money for every click, and so it was
you're
just
going,
very
hallelujah.
simple. Yeah, I mean, back in 97, 98, I mean, it was doing well just by creating pages and so forth. I mean, and it was Alta Vista and Excite. Wow. And we didn't have, and Google hadn't really come around yet. Mm-hmm. So there was no, it wasn't links. It was just basically creating some content, and keyword density. And what's interesting is back in the 90s and early 2000s, it was about content mm-hmm. and keywords and so forth. And I've seen this shift over the years where we went from on page, now then it was off page for years and years and mm-hmm. years, and it was all about links and all about getting other people to link to you. Then it was anchor text and so forth. And now the past 3 to 4 years, now mm-hmm. we're back actually to on page and H1s and even schema markup. It's kind of come full circle.
Right. And schema markup, it, in the most basic sense in terms, is name, address, phone number, and that it's Google, Yahoo, and Bing all. They love that.
Yeah, they just recognize you're tagging an item, you're tagging a product, you're tagging that that this product has 5 stars or mm-hmm. this has, and it's just making it a little easier for them to put that data into their database. And figure it all out.
Some of you trolls are going to go like, we know this stuff. I said, I know that, Sparky. This is not for you. So there, this is for Bill and me and my audience. So there. So I'm mature, aren't I? So,
yep.
So I was doing that last night when I saw some of the picks on the NFL draft. I was like, oh, are you kidding me? Anyway, so when you started making affiliate sales, you were probably going like, there's something to this because you're driving traffic to it, and I'm assuming in that point it's like SEO. What am I doing to make? Because you're very technical in that regard. So it's like you're probably breaking it down and go like, how am I making affiliate sales? What am I saying? What am I doing to make it go there? And that probably made that switch to go to SEO, right?
Yes, I mean it was basically I got into getting traffic. I mean, essentially the more traffic I could get, from various sources. Started playing the breaking news, news game where I'd have pages already. This was a case where back in the 90s and even early 2000s, it was basically Google would only update. The search engines would only update, once a week, mm-hmm. but if and for new pages, so they were kind of crawling, but they were still kind of pretty slow at crawling. And so if you actually had pages created, they already knew, they were already in the index.
Right.
And so essentially the concept was, back then, basically it was more on the Black Hat side, I guess. Before it was Black Hat, you'd buy an expired domain mm-hmm. and find all of the pages on that former website, all the URLs. And so if it was an old website and it had a page1.html, then basically you would create some kind of content on page1.html. Then essentially when there would be breaking news, mm-hmm. All you'd have to do is go edit page1.html, have a new title tag, mention the keyword a couple times on the page, mm-hmm. and you would within half an hour, you would rank
because you already had it indexed, right?
You already had it indexed.
Yeah.
And so they were kind of. There was always this. They're always in the system, the algorithms and holes and so forth. There were always ways to, get around, certain things. And so that was the fun of doing that. And then, obviously, it was all about traffic. You see the traffic, and literally it was, you get, 1 out of every 250 people would buy something. Which was a good, conversion rate.
Yeah.
And so you just get, the more people you get, the more you really can make.
My mind is like got a zillion things right now because everything you said there, I'm like, okay, I want to talk about this, I want to talk about that, but what you're talking about kind of leads into this negative SEO.
Yep.
Because and it's fascinating to me. So I've mentioned this a couple of times already. Explain what the definition of negative SEO is, and then tell people what you discovered.
So essentially, what negative SEO is when you have we're talking about a mom and pop business, local, Dallas real estate agent, and they're competing obviously for local phrases and rankings, and negative SEO kind of takes into the account that a competitor who's maybe ranking fourth, they will do things and create bad links, and they'll create websites, and they'll do whatever they can do, whatever holes they can find to basically do bad things, or to suddenly make 5,000 links about cars and point that to your competitor's real estate site, and then all of a sudden Google says, well, okay, well, this website that's about real estate is now about cars, and so they may lose rankings. And so it's not about necessarily just working your website to get a better ranking. It's actually some competitors are trying, basically they're in the list, they may be in the top 10, but they may be doing things to get you to go down so that they can go up.
Right. So there's a couple of things that crossed my mind. One was a story several years ago, probably maybe a decade ago. J.C. Penney, from a company here in Dallas, they were sending links to the J.C. and J.C. Penney had hired this local company, and I think you remember the story is that they were sending links and backlinks to the J.C. Penney site that had nothing to do with J.C. Penney, with the products they were selling, like lawnmowers. And they were in some writer up in New York, like New York Times or something, said, "Hey, look, found this out. This is not, you guys don't sell this stuff," but they were ranking for a lot of different things. And so they contacted the company. JCPenney said, "Well, we don't know anything about that." Then later on, this guy contacted Google because he was this company was sending links that were not relevant to JCPenney.
Sure.
That's part of the thing, isn't it? That has to be relevant links that are associated with the site. That to make it relevant, it's negative SEO when they're doing it the other way and say, okay, lawnmowers to a real estate site.
Years ago, it kind of started with Google bombing. So the Google bombing phrase came about where there's essentially, if you have enough links or enough, with enough anchor text, it's the old, the classic one that everybody talks about from years ago was, George Bush's profile on the whitehouse.gov site, where essentially, you could put in Google, you could put in the words miserable failure, and George Bush's page would be right there at the number one, right at the top, because there were so many links, and so that's that was kind of a play in finding a hole in Google's algorithms to kind of deal with that. And so what's happened over the years is there has been various there's certainly illegal things that people do. Denial of service attacks and sending too much traffic that a web server can't handle, down to just creating links and so forth. Now, what's interesting is that with a lot of the new things that have been added, a lot of the new features, if you will, over the past 10 to 15 years, like the canonical tag and using sitemaps, using links with, and we talk about redirects, different types of redirects from, one website, one web page to another, and so forth. There still are kind of these, exploits or holes that people are constantly trying to fill.
And that's what you discovered doing an SEO audits. I mean, that's your background now, is that you do SEO audits, but it is because of the SEO audits that you found these loopholes. Doesn't it also have to do with, and you brought this up, you said websites, and isn't that how you discovered this particular loophole of a negative SEO? So explain that story that you published in Search Engine Journal, that they were so kind to reproduce it, but tell people about that, what you discovered.
So essentially what has happened is that, in this one particular instance, essentially the canonical tag is a tag that allows you to say, have a duplicate of two pages. For example, the obvious, the use of it is if you have a website and you are selling T-shirts, and you have one particular product with a logo on it, but you sell it in small, medium, large, extra large, triple X, and then you also sell it, or 3X, and you sell it also in red, white, blue, and a bunch of different colors. Well, essentially that's still one product, and so the idea is that they introduce the canonical tag to basically tell search engines that we know we have 10 different colors and 10 different sizes, and those are different pages on our website. But really, what we'd like you to do is combine all those different pages, and really the main product is at one particular page. And so that's the main, the main product page. But take all the link value and all the people call it link juice or all the credit, and pass that on to just one page and combine it all into one page. What has happened is though there's two things. Is that that's great for your particular website, and it's appropriate for in a lot of cases, whether you have a blog or an e-commerce site where you're selling stuff, different sizes. But there's also an option where there are publishers, could be a financial website, and they put out news. They're constantly putting out news on their site, but they syndicate that particular news on Yahoo and and all sorts of different other websites. Well, all the other copies of that particular article will actually have a canonical tag and say, hey, we know that this article is over on Yahoo Finance, but and people might link to that article on Yahoo Finance. But really what we want you to do, hey, search engines, just combine all those links and all that value from the Yahoo Finance to the main article on this particular domain name, where the content really resides on this one main financial website. That's the main page of the article.
Right.
So in that case, that's called a cross-domain, canonical tag. Well, what have so and the value is that you're combining the pages from one website to another.
Right.
Well, the negative SEO comes in, whereas somebody actually ends up having they know about your particular web page. Well, what they will do is they will make essentially a copy of it, or a copy of part of that page, and put it on a bad website.
Right.
They'll put it on a site that has has been banned in Google, or has all sorts of problems.
Right.
And then they'll put point the canonical tag back to the victim or the original website. And so what happens is Google, in their whole scheme of things of trying doing good and combining the Yahoo Finance page with the article, they combine both. Well, they're also combining a bad website with a good website, and so they combine that.
And it's almost
that's
like
the problem.
It's like a duplicate. It's what they're doing, and so because it's a bad duplicate going to a good duplicate, it's the bad links that are destroying the good site.
Yes, the bad content, the bad, and in fact, where it gets tricky is that this actually is done through canonical tag. There are no links involved. And so what happens is you can go and you can look at majestic.com or Google Search Console or Ahrefs, and you can find all the links to your website. And if somebody creates a bad link from an adult site or from Viagra or pills site or whatever.
What do you got to bring a Viagra for? Oh,
I
it's
know.
too early in the morning for Viagra.
Yes, it is.
Why I got it?
If somebody creates links, you can see those links.
Right.
The problem here is that this is kind of undetectable because someone's copying your website and content, but there's no links involved, but it has essentially the same effect.
But Google, and so we're going to take a quick break. I want to go more into this because Google's denying everything you're saying, but they haven't come up with anything that's proof of it. So we're going to take a quick break. This is interesting as all get out to me. And goosebumps again. It's my goosebump moment. So You're watching The Launch with Tim Vasquez, heard every Friday here at the On Air Media Network. Special time this morning with special guest Bill Hartzer. So the first break coming up, and Bill can deny or certainly piggyback on this if he wants to. Neil Patel. I've had this on the show several times. Some of Neil's interesting observations about SEO. So Neil Patel's going to talk about SEO for beginners. And so some tips and tricks to help you get ranking online. And so anyway, quick break. We'll be back with Bill in just a moment. Neil Patel video for you for SEO for beginners.
Do you want to rank number one on Google? Well, I hate to say it, it's actually really hard. 10 years ago, it used to be really easy, but now it's hard. And you know what? Unless you watch this whole video, you're not going to be able to rank number one on Google. Hey everyone, I'm Neil Patel, and today I'm going to share with you 3 ways you can rank number one on Google today. I got started in SEO when I was 16 years old. I created a website called Advice Monkey. It no longer exists. If you search for it, you're not going to see my website. It was a replication and a shitty replication of monster.com. And when I created the website, I thought, oh cool, this is it. People are going to come to my site and I'm going to get traffic. But you know what? I popped up the website and no one came to it. From that point, I realized there was something called SEO that I had to do. I paid a few marketing firms to help me with search engine optimization so that way I could rank number one on Google for terms like job search. But you know what? I gave them money and I got no results. Eventually, as a 16-year-old kid, I lost all my money. You only can make so much money cleaning restrooms and picking up trash. So I had to learn it. But when I first started, it was as simple as putting the keywords on your website and you could rank. I wish it was that easy these days. Number 1, focus on content. See, Google has this update called Hummingbird. And with Hummingbird, what they decided to do is websites who just have content on everything won't do as well as websites who focus on one single niche and are super thorough. For example, let's say you have a website around dating. If you have a website around dating and your article is, let's say, talking about 5 ways you can land a date, or 5 ways you can land your dream date. If you end up breaking down, hey, go to match.com, sign up, and you'll find a match after you create a profile, you're not going to do that well. But if you write an article that breaks down how to create a profile on Match.com, the ideal picture, the ideal description, how to be funny, how to even maybe add video. I don't know, I haven't been on these dating sites in ages. But if you go really in depth and you break down every little thing that they should do, and then after you break down Match.com, you then talk about Tinder, you then talk about Bumble, you then talk about eHarmony, all the other platforms. You then even discuss how you should respond to people and engage with them. Should you be hitting people up? What's the first thing you should say to them? How should you respond? Where should you go for your first date, right? How to carry from your first date and ask them on a second date. But if you're super thorough and your content is so amazing that people are like, wow, I read this article, I don't have any more questions, and I know what to do next. That's how thorough you need to be. So poke holes in your content, and as many holes as you can, and fill them all up, so then that way, people are like, this is the end-all site that you should end up reading if you're interested in dating online. Actually, what's funny, I wish dating was this easy when I was younger. I couldn't just swipe an app like Tinder and find the next match. I was sitting next to my buddy Terry the other day, and he kept swiping on Tinder, and he's like, check this out, swipe, instant match, swipe, instant match. 30 plus matches within a few minutes. But back in my days, you would have to go to a bar and meet people and actually talk to them. All right, so now that we got that out of the way, let's go into the second tip if you want to rank #1 on Google. The second tip I have for you is optimize your title tag and your meta description. Have you ever done a Google search and noticed that every time you do it, there's this link at the top and then there's this one sentence? Well, the link at the top is called a title tag and the description below is called a meta description. Now think of it this way. If you search for the phrase online dating and you don't see the word online dating in either the title or the description, are you gonna click on the result? Well, if you are, there's something wrong. Because why would you click on a result that isn't related to what you're looking for? In addition to that, have you ever done a search for a term like online dating and have you ever noticed that the word isn't in the title or description? That's because Google tracks who's clicking on what listing. And they've learned that when a keyword is in the listing, the same keyword that you're searching for, they know you're way more likely to click through. So in your title tag and your meta description, make sure you include the keyword. But you can't just include the keyword like online dating, right? The easiest way, what I would do, and I wish it was this simple, I would just put online dating, online dating, online dating, online dating. If I could put it 20 times so people would know that the article's on online dating, I wish I would get more clicks. But it's not that simple. Yes, you have to include the keyword in your title and your description, but it has to be appealing. If it doesn't flow in a sentence, it's not easy to read, and it's not appealing or evoking curiosity, no one is going to click through. The third thing I have for you is to use Google Search Console. Did you know that Google gives you a tool that teaches you how to rank #1 on Google? Yes, I know that sounds ridiculous, but it is true, and it's called Google Search Console. If you're not already a user of it, sign up. It doesn't cost $1. You're missing out if you're not using it. I can't emphasize that enough. So now that you're using Google Search Console, give it a few days because it takes some time to populate data. You'll see a screen that shows search analytics, and this shows you all the pages on your website that are getting you traffic. But the cool thing about Google Search Console is they also show you which articles are getting impressions. And here's what I mean by impressions. You know when you do a search on Google, you don't always click through on a result, right? If you did, then you would be clicking through on 10 results every time you did a search. That would be insane. What Google shows is how many people are seeing your listing and clicking through and how many people don't click through. So they show you how many impressions you're getting, the clicks, and the click-through rate. And what you'll find is, in general, you're lucky if you're getting around a 5% click-through rate, sometimes 10, 15, but in most cases, most of your pages are going to be getting less than 5% click-through rate. Now, the cool part about Google Search Console is they show you all the keywords that you're getting impressions for and all the ones you're getting clicks for. Now, remember the first tip was about content thoroughness and you want an article that talks about everything under the sun? Well, you can use Google Search Console to tie in back to the first tip. So kind of #1 and 3 are related, in which you want to take all the keywords you're getting impressions for and start adding them to your copy. Now don't just shove them in and have your content be keyword rich where someone reads it and all it is online dating, Tinder, eHarmony, dating online, meeting someone from online dating, right? If someone was reading your article and it sounded just like that, they're gonna bounce off your site because that means your content sucks and it just has too many keywords. It has to flow naturally and be educational. So you wanna take those keywords that you're seeing in Google Search Console and add them to the article. Now we have an article on Instagram and it teaches you how to get over 300 targeted Instagram followers per day. That article is around 10,000 words. When I first wrote that article, it wasn't 10,000 words, it was roughly 2,500. I went to Google Search Console, I saw all the people that are searching for terms related to that article, I added them within that article, I made it more thorough, and you know what? My traffic more than tripled to that article. Yes, it is that simple. And when I made that change, it didn't happen right away, but I noticed the results within 50 days. That's not a long time. So now let's recap on the tips. 1, make your content super thorough. 2, Make sure you include the keywords within your title tag and meta description, but also when you're doing your title and description, make sure you're evoking curiosity and you're creating an amazing title that everyone wants to read and click through. And number 3, use the free tool that Google gives you that'll help you rank number 1. That's Google Search Console. Use those 3 things and you can rank number 1, not just in the future, but also right now. Now that you've learned these 3 tips, I challenge you, in which I want you to take these tactics and implement them. And then after you implement them, in the next 45 days, I want you to leave a comment with your results. Because if you're not doing well, that means I'm not happy, and I know these tactics work, and that's why I'm challenging you. Because if you implement them, you're gonna see results, and you're gonna be ecstatic, and your life is going to change. And I wanna build a community of like-minded people where we all take action and we help each other grow. So I challenge you to take action and implement these 3 steps. Now granted, I know you may be busy and you may not be able to do all of them right away, but just pick one. It doesn't have to be time consuming. Pick one of them, make the change. Maybe you can start with the second tactic because that's the easiest one. Implement it and you can start seeing results right away. So make sure you subscribe to this video and this channel, and I'll see you in the next video, and we'll keep helping each other grow.
I got a rocking show. I love this music for my show. I did another show back in the day with my little brother who is on the Oddcast podcast here on the On Air Media Network, Mondo Mike, who you might remember from The Edge also. So anyway, but whenever we did our show together, he always played this wimpy music stuff, you know, Adele and all this boring music. And it's, oh, come on. So jazz it up a little bit. So I love my music for my show. Also love my guests. I got one of the top guys in the country. And we were talking negative SEO. The Loving Talent. Look at there. Bill Hartzer with Tony Sakala, who's been our guest also, talking about cryptocurrency. And Tony's the pirate guy. And they were, I guess, what, you guys doing Halloween or something?
Yeah, that was actually a digital marketing sum up where they have their, you know, they have all the props and they want you to take pictures.
Well,
and
you made a good Viking right there.
Yeah, this Tony Sakala and Beth Kolick.
Okay.
And, you know, local Dallas.
Yeah, Tony's one of the best also.
Yep.
Gee whiz, again, our circle of friends, it's a frightening amount of people, that's for sure. So what's also frightening is negative SEO. We were talking about that before the break. Hope you got some tips out of the Neil Patel video. Again, just real simple tips about SEO and certainly take them to heart. Neil Patel, subscribe to his site online because you will not miss anything by doing that. He's got a great podcast and a bunch of great videos. So again, Neil Patel, big hero, big fan. Also big fan of Bill Hartzer. Neil Hartzer. There you go.
Yep.
I'm melding the whole two now because you were wearing the Viking helmet, so I cut up a little bit. The negative SEO aspect, and again, let's recap that. It's just in the most basic sense. It's you got a good website and a bad website. You're ranking on page 1. Your competitor's not. Decides to hire somebody that's going to do some wonky things, and he's going to recreate basically a bad site that mirrors your site, and it's sending things back to the good site. And all of a sudden, Google sees that, and all they're seeing is the bad things. And you're kind of getting knocked down the notch or two. Bill found some loopholes. I mean, he found one earlier that went on Search Engine Journal. Before the show started this morning, we were talking about he found more loopholes. And Google's denying this. And they're not coming up with any type of – I'm a big proof of concept person. You know, if you're going to deny something and that's based in fact, which Bill showed, you know, Google's denying it. And I'm not throwing Google under the bus. I'm just saying – they're not stepping up to the plate by saying Bill's wrong. Let's go a little bit more into why you're right. And
sure.
And so that's the first aspect. But you said before the show that you found a couple more loopholes.
Yeah, there's a couple others. I mean, there's one about, you know, basically about open redirects where essentially in that case, you know, you may have a redirect on your website that has some affiliate codes or has some tracking code in it, and when somebody clicks on that link, you know, it brings them to another page for a sign up, but it redirects, and you know, and it's tracking a certain URL on your site. If you're using certain scripts, what can happen is if people find those scripts, they can put their URL in your in your redirect, and maliciously kind of just pump all sorts of redirects from other websites into your system, if you will, in your tracking and so forth.
This is major league bad stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely is, and I think that and then we also had Google actually paid a bug bounty to a guy out of the UK from Stilled, Tom Anthony, that he found a sitemap exploit. So basically, what would happen is that you could create a website and use you put a sitemap on your website, and essentially that could replicate, the sitemap. And Google got confused of whether or not certain pages were your sitemap or the sitemap from another website. And so with that confusion, he found that hole, and apparently he was able to basically, replace his website with another website, like a Walmart.com has all their products in there. Mm-hmm. Well, he was able to actually create, use sitemaps in a way that got Google confused and started indexing his web pages in replace of, Walmart.com's, products and product feed. And so what he chose to do is behind the scenes, he contacted Google and said, hey, I found this. And then it was 2 or 3 months by the time they went and verified that it was a bug, and they fixed it. And then Google told him, that he could come out with that particular bug. So I kind of looked at that and said, I had in this case, I had a client whose website all of a sudden went from ranking number 1 to number 78. And so, and tried to figure out what was happening, and then found, the canonical tag issue, mm-hmm. that it had been done. So in that case, that was, at that point I said, okay, am I going to report this directly to, a Google rep? Because I do have contacts at Google that I can email and say, hey, mm-hmm. this is going on. I made that choice to not go directly to them to get, $1,300 of bug bounty for this. I just went ahead and said, you know what, let's just, I'm just going to publish it. I'm going to write about it.
Right.
And, take some of the details out.
This is on your website.
Yeah. So I did that on my blog.
So real quick, how did it get to your blog? How did it get to the blog? Is it Bill Hartzer?
Yeah, so BillHartzer.com.
Okay, so they can find it there. They can find the article there.
Yeah.
Now, okay, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I want to make sure people can get to that site. All right.
So I went ahead and just published it.
Oh,
and within minutes, actually, minutes or a few hours, some Google rep immediately come and publicly and said, nope, that doesn't work. It is not an issue, and nothing to see here.
See, and I can and listen. I'm not as sophisticated as you. And we talked about this.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of people that are sophisticated as you, but even I, on my little meager level of knowledge, knows that, and I've done that. Not not to any clients and not to anybody to hurt anybody.
Sure.
I've just done it for me in the past, so I know it's there. If I can do it, I'm a chimpanzee. Anybody can if they got a knowledge of this type of information. Why in the world did Google? Well, I can figure out why, but why do you think Google is denying this?
I think it's more of a, it's, they have to do their PR, and it is
right.
a PR thing, and there's a lot of website owners that follow certain Google reps and so forth, mm-hmm. and they're so traditionally they've always denied that there's no such thing as negative SEO, that there's nothing in Webmaster Tools, and their Webmaster guidelines. If you do a negative, there should be something in there that says if you do negative SEO to another website, we're going to penalize you for that. Right. There's nothing in there about that. Not at all. I mean, and
is this okay? Are there countries that are more they're doing more of this than anybody else? I mean, what was it? Is it coming from Asia, Russia, the Ukraine? The Philippines. I mean,
most of the sites that I've uncovered actually are just in the EU. I mean, from have the who is, you look up the who is on a domain that's doing that native SEO to your site, and it's it's either it has Germany .de or it's a German address, or Amsterdam, or just in the EU somewhere.
Okay, so all right, so that's
at least that's what I've
what
come
you
across.
found so far. That's what you found so far. But it's still frightening, though, in that regard. You talked about sitemaps. Again, just I know for the higher level people, they know what sitemaps are. But can you explain what a sitemap is again, just to give people an idea what it is? And then
So
then I also want Google Webmaster Tools. Talk about that also. But sitemap.
Yeah. So basically, there's a couple of different, you have your web pages on your website, and you link from, your home page to your, another page on your website, page 1, page 2, page 3, and so forth. And the search engines crawl those web pages by links. They go to your home page, or they go to a page and they say, oh, here's a link. And they crawl from home page to page 2, page 3, and page 4. That's how they actually, pass value and so forth, and figure a lot of that out. So, about the mid 2000s or so, they come up with, okay, well, now you can have a sitemap file. And so a sitemap actually, traditionally in websites, we've had, your home page and maybe your about page, your contact page, and your services page, and you might actually have a page on your site that says that is called sitemap, and that's traditionally when we create websites to actually for the users, and in that case,
it's automatically created.
Well, in that case, your sitemap is a HTML page where you have different you actually have clickable links on there. That is actually that page on your website that is different than a separate file. So there's a file that's supposed to be at yourdomain.com/sitemap.xml, and it's actually an XML format, and essentially it's a list of every URL on your website, typically up to 50,000 per file, and it essentially says here's the in that file it says here's the page on my site. Here is how often I update this page, and it might have some information. It might have a the title of the page in there. So there's and that's just essentially a suggestion to the search engines that here's a list of the pages on our site,
right? And
you can have it's your option. That to crawl those particular pages,
right? And
it's a suggestion,
right? And again, it's an explanation on how websites work. So you mentioned Google Webmaster Tools, which everybody should be using, but it still sounds. But the way you're describing it, though, it may sound like it's kind of scary to even use it because of all these wonky things that are going on. Should we be scared of using Google Webmaster Tools?
I don't think so. I mean, there's two situations basically. There's you are either going to, as a website owner, you're going to verify your site and tell Google that I am the owner of this particular website, and Google does give you lots of different information. They give you the links that they know, most of the links that they know about. They give you suggestions. If there's errors, crawl errors, for example, that they've found, they give you they also give you the keyword data about your site, which can be helpful. There's a whole group of people that will never, they'll never use a Gmail account. They'll never set up a Google account. They will never, they'll have a website. They don't want, and they won't ever use Webmaster Tools because, they don't want Google to know that they're the ones that own this particular website and so forth. It's not a, ranking. You don't have to have, Google Webmaster Tools, or it's now Google Search Console. You don't have to go in there and and have that. It's useful, and it is it's useful on a certain level. And they're getting better about if there are errors and crawl errors and there's problems with your site. They do. Yeah, they'll email you,
Right.
and you'll have your notifications. And certainly, if your website gets banned or has a manual action, there's been several cases where I've helped domain name owners where they just go and they buy a new domain name, and all of a sudden it was used to be another website,
Right.
and now they're using the site and it won't rank in Google. You go into Webmaster Tools. Some cases, with extreme cases, there's that domain name might be banned or have, from a previous owner. It might be marked as pure spam, and so there's a way. Certainly you basically tell Google that, okay, well, we're the new owners and so forth, and they will lift those
Right.
Those manual actions and the penalties.
That's a PBN, and I was real big into that for a while. Now it's not working so much, but whoever directed those people to buy those domains didn't know what they were talking about. So I'm going to switch gears a little bit. I was going to take a break, but you know what? The heck with that break. I'm just going to keep going. So you're talking about domain names. When people are purchasing domain names, should it be an exact match domain name like fluffy dog? I'm a fluffy dog breeder.com. Should they? And that's just a domain name. Should they? And that's what their business is. Should they purchase a domain name like that?
Well, I mean, that's a good question.
That's the key word, yeah. Because I know the answer to this, but again, I want to hear it from the expert.
Well, but I don't know if you actually know the answer because
okay, to me is
it is.
To me, I would say it's okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But there's these so-called experts that say, "Oh no, you can't do that." So let's go into that because I think it's okay. I don't think there's anything wrong with it.
No, there's definitely not. And you definitely there's not a problem. You can get you have to think about branding your business, and so certainly there's you're either going to brand your business with a keyword and ideally so you either your main website would be books.com, and so or do you choose something like Amazon.com? I mean, so do you have a company name or do you use or you choose a generic? That's more of a overall marketing decision on how you're more of a branding decision and so forth. For example, I mean, I keep one that comes to my mind right now is Chewy.com, and they're branding with a pretty good domain. It's short and it's to the point, and yeah, I mean it's dog products, and dogs chew, so it makes sense.
Yeah.
But there are all these new TLD domain names. So there's all these So if you have my
it sounds like
my
I'm putting
theory
you on
about it. Yes, my theory and what I've tested over the years is there's certain things I could say about it, certain things I can't. But what it comes down to is that really honestly every domain name, whether it's 123xyz hyphen 2354, it can rank just as easy as Chewy.com or any kind of other domain. That's if everything is started off at the beginning. But you have to understand that what people actually do on the web, and they do link. And they do use, anchor text to link to your site, and so, there's, different ways you're company is mentioned on the website. And so companies traditionally will always be, if, for BillHartzer.com, I'll always rank, for Bill Hartzer, if that's my name or my company name, because of the fact that, it's used, so many other people mention it
Right.
in anchor text and so forth. When you actually have, Chewy.com, even or red dot widgets,
Right.
for your domain name. Naturally, people will link to you with anchor text and so forth and mention you that, hey, if you're looking for Chewy, Chewy's over here. And so that's the way people link. And so that's the way people link and mention you and your brand mentions, that's part of the search engine algorithms. And so you have to, when you're choosing a name, it's easier if you have a keyword name.
Right.
Whether it's a, keyword.com, because that's the way people naturally link to you.
Right. The keyword unicorns. I mean, we want to avoid those.
Sure.
But I guess with keyword unicorns, it's like you're looking to rank for keywords that your competitors are using with that. But can you explain about keyword unicorns, what that means to people, what that could mean?
So keyword unicorns. That's
it's kind of a broad phrase, I guess. And I guess it's about finding the ultimate type of keywords that your competitors are using, but unicorn doesn't exist, and these keywords don't really exist. So it's like you're using the wrong type of keywords. To me, that's what a keyword unicorn is, because those keywords don't exist. Just like you said with Chewy, they don't use 123.com to rank. They don't. They're using dog type products or something like that. So. Are people searching for? I guess with that type of keyword unicorn type thing, are people really searching for the keyword likely to buy what you sell? I mean, that's what you want people to do, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's about understanding that, user intent. I mean, it's about understanding, when you're looking for a lemon, Google's using a lot of other factors to understand whether they're looking for the fruit, a yellow, thing that you make lemonade with, or if they're looking for a car, being a lemon.
Right.
And so that's
it's a great example.
So we have to kind of understand, that, and it is about user intent. Just one particular way, they're using those phrases.
So is there a clear way to convert that traffic from the keyword into leads? I mean, because it's lemon car or lemon fruit. Is there a clear way to differentiate that?
Well, the search engines actually, they do a fairly good job, with using customization and if you're researching used cars, then they'll know,
right,
to give you certain content.
Right.
Same way that, if you are, if you type in the word furniture right now, you will actually, they will show you, local furniture stores. In the Dallas area. But if you are, for example, in New York City, number one result, if you type furniture is, furniture.nyc, being a local, New York City furniture retailer.
Do you have a favorite SEO trick, a real simple one that people can use that doesn't take a lot of work to Neil Patel talked about it earlier in the show, the video, but do you have a simple SEO trick that people can use to help with the rankings?
Sure. I mean, I think that, a lot of people are still, we get all these emails about every single day about, doing a guest post and that's all involving links and so forth. I think probably the easiest and thing that we don't it may not be easy, but it's something that we don't realize.
Okay.
Is we can actually just sit and look at the page that we're on that we want to rank, whatever service or whatever keyword page it is, and essentially manipulate that page, change the content around on that particular page until we get a better ranking.
Okay.
And so the process, in a limited sense, the process is to look at the page and, look at the different, you can look at some competitors. There are some tools. There's some really awesome tools I'll mention that does it in a very technical way. And basically you put in your keyword and it gives you all the answers. But essentially, if you don't have, if you don't use a tool, essentially, one of the ways can do it is, first, obviously, you'd have your keyword at the beginning of the title tag. And, you do want to mention it, in your meta description tag. There's, luckily now we do have a lot more characters, up to 320 characters. If it's appropriate to kind of change, add some more content to the meta description tag, great. But we have to go in and look at our page and how we have it. Look at the H1. So it's at H1, H2, H3, H4. Those are primarily the different headings. And so you have to kind of think about a hierarchy of the main the main topic of the page is in the H1, and then you have a you have a category or a subcategory and a subcategory with H2s and H3s, H4s. Essentially, there's a couple things to do. Now, you have the keyword. What you can do is you can go to Google, type in that particular keyword you want to rank for, and look at go to the bottom of the search results. And look specifically at related keywords.
Related keywords,
okay?
All the time.
And look at those, what they're suggesting, and in the the H2, H3, H4s, and so forth, mention a few of those keywords. And then there's another area you can also do look at the auto suggest. So you can type in the keyword and look at the auto suggest. There'll be some similar keywords. Use one or two of those also in H1, H2, H3, so forth. And we do want it, not just to be just a heading and a keyword. We want a little bit more in there. But it's on page. It's also going back to adding bullet points, adding a table, and using that basic HTML code for an unordered list, which is caret symbol UL, and then you have a line item and a line item and a line item and so forth, and then you end the list. That classic HTML code, and adding a table. Those elements with the H1s, H2s, H3s, adding a bulleted list when appropriate, not just using just a hyphen and so forth with a list, but using that basic HTML markup. And so the trick, so going and tweaking that a little bit. The trick, if you will, is take that page, go to Google Fetch and Render, and then just tell Google to fetch it again. And literally within, within minutes, Google will crawl it. And if you refresh and look for the, search for the URL again, you will see it refreshed within a few minutes. In the Google cache, and then you'll see the new title tag or the meta description tag and so forth. And so literally you can, within 2 or 3, if you're really obsessed with it, 2 or 3 hours, make 10 or 15 changes, to that same page, fetch and render it again, and keep on working on it until you get you will move up. That also, that's also a good, that coding and so forth, that actually helps you with that, with having a rich snippet and having that, having that answer box
Right.
For many of the phrases. And so you can actually tweak a little bit here and there and fetch and render it again until you get the results.
This is great stuff. Real quick, Bill, how do they get a hold of you?
Main blog, BillHartzer.com.
And a phone number? Can they go? Oh, just go to the website. Contact Bill through the website.
Yeah, or just put my name in Google.
Yeah, that's probably the easiest thing. You've been watching the Launch with Tim Vasquez, started every Friday here at the On Air Media Network. My great guest this morning, Bill Hartzer. Next week's guest, Mike Muni. You want to see that show also. Act, you'll know him. See you guys next week. Thanks. Bye.